Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Local Media Association webinar in partnership with United Robots. We're excited to have you here. Right now, people are putting in the chat where they're calling in from. So far, there's people from South Africa, from Canada, from different places in the United States. So welcome to everyone across the world, which is fun to get to say. We don't get to do that too often. So my name is Lindsay Estes. I am the Chief of Staff for the Local Media Association and Foundation. I'm going to just do a couple housekeeping items to get us started before I turn it over. We are using the chat feature today. That is available to provide feedback to the speakers, to talk to other attendees, and then we will be using the Q&A box to send questions to our speakers. So there's the chat box for kind of chat throughout the session, and then the Q&A for what you would like to ask our presenters today. One of the most common questions we get is this being recorded? Will the presentation be shared? The answer is yes to both of those. So we are recording and we will be sharing. It will be available on the Local Media Association website under past events, as well as the recording will be on the United Robots YouTube page. All of that will be linked from the LMA website. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. We will be doing questions at the end, so go ahead and put them in throughout the presentation, then Cecilia will answer them. So today's presentation is More Stories Closer to Home, Why Automated Content Has Become a Priority for Local Publishers. And Cecilia Campbell and Jens Peterson will be our presenters today. So with that, Cecilia, I am going to turn it over to you. Thank you for being here and thank you for your support of LMA throughout the year.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar about content automation in local media. So it's really great that we have so many of you here, and I do hope you'll find it useful and get a chance to ask your questions. So as Lindsay said, my name is Cecilia Campbell. I am head of marketing at United Robots. With me, I have Jens Petersson, who is head of editorial development at local media group NTM in Sweden. And he has a really interesting story to tell, and I'll hand over to him shortly. Oh, sorry. For some reason, okay. Sorry. I shall start over again. I'm sorry about that. It is the... So, let me first briefly introduce United Robots for background and context. So we're a tech company and we're based in Malmö, Sweden. We've been providing automated editorial content to the news publishing industry since 2015. We were born out of a project at Swedish local media group Mittmedia, and many of us in the team are journalists, including myself, and our roots in local media still very much influence how we work. A key thing is that while we're a tech company, we don't sell tech. We build text robots and we run them in-house and then provide publishers with the automated content pieces fed directly into your CMS or via RSS feed. So it's kind of like a news agency for automated content, you could say. And at this point, about 90% of the content that we produce is automatically published on our clients' sites and apps without manual intervention. At this point, we've served some 200 newsrooms with content in Scandinavia, Europe, and North America. And these are some of the publishers we've worked with to date. So as you see, many are local news groups. In fact, as we've grown, we've come to realize that it is in local journalism that automated content can add the most value. And I think Jens' presentation here will illustrate that really well today. And this is what the content looks like on the publisher's sites. All of these examples have been generated and published without any manual work by the newsroom. By the way, I don't know if you hear the background noise. It's high school graduation week in Malmö, Sweden, and everybody's out driving their cars and honking horns. So I do apologize if there's noise in the background. Okay, so we, of course, use AI to generate our texts. And in view of all the discussions in the industry since the release of ChatGPT at the end of last year, I think I need to explain how the AI we use differs from generative AI. So our products are built on rules-based text generation. And the key to that is reliable and structured data sets. And the data points, they constitute the facts of the text, the only facts. So the data also triggers the story, and based on the data analysis, we determine what the main angle would be. So for example, if you look at match data, will the result of the match play today mean that one of the teams goes from 3rd to 1st position in the league table? If so, that might then be the main angle of the story, and it will be used for the headline. This is another way of looking at how we work. So with our platform and our model where we sell content rather than deploy tech, the all-important human in the loop is involved before the text generation. I'm not going to go into too much technical detail, but as I said, the raw material is structured data from reliable sources. Our team programs the robot. Word, clause, and sentence alternatives are also written by humans. And importantly, when a new publisher is onboarded, this is also where they are involved. So our language team helps editors to train the robot to the editorial guidelines and needs of their particular newsroom. Once all that is done, the human's work is done, and the robot automatically writes and distributes text to whatever endpoint you as a publisher would need. So with the human in the loop before text generation, you can create volumes of text with guaranteed accuracy as long as the data is correct. The content is scheduled and publication predictable and automatic. So by comparison, this is, as I see it, this is what generative AI looks like for editorial quality text generation. So when we need accuracy and factual correctness. So the human in the loop needs to be involved in 2 sets of processes. Someone needs to create the prompts to drive the text generation, as well as then iterate and optimize prompts to refine the outcome. And even after that, and I think everybody here have heard about this, in order to guarantee accuracy and editorial quality, you also need to have someone check the facts, the sources, the conclusions in any AI-generated text. So when it comes to automatically generated and published content, at this point, we believe that rules-based AI is really the only viable option if we're going to guarantee quality and accuracy. So that's the tech. And now it's case study time. So let's find out how NTM use robot-written content as an integral part of their data-driven publishing strategy. Jens, over to you.
Thank you, Cecilia, and hi everyone. I'm calling in from Sweden, Uppsala, very close to Stockholm in Sweden. And I've been asked by Cecilia to run a short and brief overview over what we have been doing with these kind of robots. We have been working with United Robots for like up to 7 years now, I think. I think we started off in 2016, so in the very early beginning. So we've been customers and clients for them for a long time. And I'm just going to run an overview of this for you then. And I look forward to have all these questions afterwards, and I'll try to answer them as good as possible. So if I say pling, Cecilia, you need to change slides. So I say pling.
Yeah, and this is when my computer, of course, stops working. I'm really sorry. I'll stop sharing again. I don't know why it does it. It's like it freezes. Can you see that now?
No, you're showing the administrative view instead of full screen.
Okay, stop sharing. Start sharing. Now?
Now it looks better, but we need to go forward to our screens there. So just in short, NTM is a Swedish local media conglomerate. We have like 19 different news titles around Sweden. We have a turnover yearly on 177 million euros. We have 390 journalists employed around Sweden. We have around 270,000 subscribers, and of them, we have 90,000 who are pure digital only subscribers. And we reach around 65% of the people in our areas. So we are very focused on local and regional news. Please. 3 years ago, we started out on like a new beginning for our company. Back in 2017, we started to charge for journalism digitally. And 3 years later, we realized that we needed to reposition us and do a lot more work together. So we started up a storytelling on this called Let's Get Ready to Double, and just started off by establishing the fact that local news has a great value. We had been doing very different, we've been having different approaches in the local newsrooms around NTM, and the newsrooms have been handling paid content in different ways. But we started on a journey where we really wanted people to pay for the digital content as well. And we based this work upon 3 pillars. If you just pling. Those 3 are value, relationship, and habit. And it's based upon getting our newsrooms to really realize what kind of journalism we need to produce to create value for the customers paying for it. We need to strengthen up the relationship and become much closer with the subscribers. And we need to work on the habit building, which is the essential of a subscription driven model, that the customers need to use your product often and many times a week, and read a lot and view a lot. And if you do that, you can hook them up and they will continue to be subscribing. So value, relationship, and habits has been the foundation or the pillars for this work for us these last 3 years. Pling. So where does this robot come into our work? We have been realizing that the robot as an employee is really fast, Pling. It's really focused, Pling. And it's got a really high work capacity if you compare to normal employees. The work is really being done in real time for us. It's only doing work on the kind of subjects or topics that we want them to do it on, and we can, of course, can produce a lot of text in this way. Pling. And so, how do we use these kind of robots then? If you just, I think you can click through all these ones in this one. We do robot text from United Robots on real estate sales. We do it on sports results from lower divisions. We do it on traffic news, accidents, and that kind of stuff. We do it on newly started companies. And here it says that we will soon be doing weather and business reports. We have actually been starting off on these business reports, so we do that as well. But we have not commenced on weather yet. And what are the main reasons for us to use the robots like this? It's speeding up our production, and we can do a lot more journalism on the right kind of topics, and we can have our human beings in the newsrooms. They can focus on other stuff instead of doing this kind of not boring work, but this kind of work that takes a lot of time. And the robot can do it pretty much as good as the human being. Cling. And I'm just going to tell you some bits and pieces on how we actually try to use this in the best way for us to make value out of this. We are trying to integrate this kind of robot journalism into our data-driven publishing strategy. We have front pages on our websites that are run by an algorithm. They are steered by a news value and start and stop time, and which is set by a human editor. And then the algorithm moves around the articles on our front pages, depending on how much interest the subscribers show for them. And for us, when it comes to the robots journalism, the real estate prices, those kind of articles are really super popular content. And we have been seeing that the higher prices the real estate is sold for, the more interest from the readers. So high prices are good shit when it comes to getting these kind of texts read. Cling. So we decided to use this kind of knowledge about the prices, and we tried to give text with a higher price better positions on the front page automatically. So what we do is that if a house is sold for a price above a given threshold value, I mean, every region or local newspaper has different kind of pricing stages on houses, but so we set up a unique threshold value on each and every news title. And if a house is sold for higher than that threshold value, it will get automatically a higher news value. And in that sense, it also gets a better position on the front page and being displayed to more readers. Pling. We also try to use these kind of texts. I mean, if we find out that the robot text on real estate sales are popular, then we try to really squeeze out the value from that by doing these kind of aggregated texts as well. So not just publishing them one by one, but we also put them in like top lists for different time periods. I mean, this week's highest prices in Uppsala in Sweden. And these aggregated texts are really good. They get a lot of engagement, and they can actually be one of the most read articles in the day, outperforming everything else that the newsroom has been doing. Pling. So what are the benefits of the robot then?
Oops.
I think, a little too much. If you just go back 2 steps. This is the most read reporter in all of NTM. His name is Fredrik Quist. He works for one of our titles, and he's really focusing upon crime. And last year, he received like 4.9 million page views from subscribers last year. And the robot, in the same time, got 9.4 million page views. So the winner of this competition between Fredrik and the robot is, of course, Pling, the robot. It's just trying to be a bit funny on this topic, but it's obvious that this kind of text or this kind of content is actually really popular among the readers. Pling. And if we look on core numbers, I think I've been allowed to share this, but I appreciate if you don't spread it too wide. If you look upon acquisition, we had 952 new subscribers on these kind of texts last year, which sums up to 2.5% of our total acquisition last year. And when it comes to engagement, if you look on page views from subscribers, we received 9.4 millions, and that is like 4% of our total. When it comes to spend time on average per article and reader, it sums up like this. When it comes to sports, on average, we have 70 seconds. When it comes to traffic, 20 seconds, new companies, 27 seconds, real estate, 31, and real estate top sales, 40 seconds. So the different topics end up with a little bit different scores on this, and the real estate topic is really most popular. Pling. So does this sound good to you? Perhaps, I don't know, but it sounds good to me. I'm really happy with having these kind of outcomes from the robot text. If you just think, one of the most common questions I've been asked when talking on robot journalism is that, like the question if they will take over the newsrooms. What happens with the human beings in the newsrooms when it comes if we put the robots in? So I've been setting up like a robot calculation, pros and cons on this. And if you look upon the challenges and the risks with this, because it has to be considered, of course. One of those questions are about the cultural challenge in the newsrooms and the existing employees who are wondering will these robots steal our jobs? And the answer to that is Pling. The answer is actually no. Pling. They can help you increase productivity on these kind of topics. And these are texts that anyone could write, but it would take a lot of time to find out the real estate prices on each and every one of these houses if it was being made manually. And in this way, you can let your great human reporters focus on the stuff that actually demands thoughts and consideration and try to give a bigger picture, dig deeper into stuff. Pling. And what about the quality then? These kind of texts and these headlines who are produced by the robots, are they really good enough for us? Pling. The answer is yes, mostly. In the very beginning, when we started off in this, the headlines were a little bit too similar to each other. They were not that good variation. And I think we also, together with United Robots, discovered some kind of failing parts in the process, which could actually allow mistakes to happen. But once we had like found out about these, we have been doing a lot of improvement on this over time. And today the headlines are much more varied, and they do almost none mistakes at all. It's actually not an issue in our newsrooms anymore on this. Click. All right, a really important question if you want to make an investment in this kind of material is, of course, if it's worth the money. And the answer to that is not sure, actually. The calculation of this is quite tricky. The robot material is a really good add-on to us for all our local journalism. And the amount of text is cheaper to produce, of course, but I'm playing lost. But what we see when we look upon the numbers is that they actually contribute quite good to conversions and engagement. And without doing the math on like, I would not put a lot of money on the table on the answer, but my calculation so far is that we would not really, we can't really go back. We cannot employ a lot of more people to do these kind of sports text on lower divisions like we used to have. We had freelancers who were like writing short text and sending them into the newsrooms. And it's not an option for us to build that kind of network again. So for us, it's a must for us to keep on doing this, actually. Click. That's pretty much it, actually. So if you have any questions now, I'll be happy to try to give you some answers on that.
All right. Thank you very much, Jens. So do we have any questions? We have one question here from Tyler Batten. How do you calculate the news value?
The news value in when it comes to the newsroom's own production, that is a news value who's being set by the editor or the reporter in combination with the editor, and they agree upon a news value that is set on this kind of piece. When it comes to the robots, that is most of the time it's given like a default news value, and then like I mentioned with the real estate prices, we have built in like a threshold value. So if the prices goes over that, it gets a higher news value. And we also have the possibility to go in and see, and if we discover that text on a business report from a very popular restaurant, for instance, if that is being written, then we can go in and manually change the news value to something higher to give a greater audience on that.
I know it's interesting. I mean, we have one of our clients in the US. I'll quickly say this before the next question. It's McClatchy, and actually just talking about, well, real estate is really popular, and obviously they would never be able to write all these stories manually, but they have combined them now into a completely new product. So they produce a newsletter that you subscribe to based on where you live, and you get the reporter stories on house trends and stuff, and then you get the sales from your area. So that's been quite a good development for them. Okay, we have a question from Leanne Waterman. Have you had any challenges in finding good, clean data to base articles on?
Well, one benefit when it comes to doing journalism in Sweden is that it's a very open society, and information is really open to citizens. For instance, the prices on real estate are public data, so it hasn't been that kind of challenging for us. It's a very good country to do this. I understand that it can be challenging in other countries, but we have a lot of public sources.
Yeah, and then I mean, the way we work is actually that when we go into a new market at United Robots as a supplier, that's the first thing we do. We look for the data, and we know that if there is no data, we're not going to be able to develop the product. And in fact, in the US, we had one early project in New Jersey where we tried to use public data, and it went very well until somebody went on holiday and there was no data for 3 months or 3 weeks, I guess. So we realized, okay, we have to have premium data sources. And for real estate in the US now, we actually work with a company called PropMix. So that's where the data comes from in the various states. Any other questions? Not at the moment.
We have some questions in the chat as well.
Okay, sorry. Yes, I should look at that.
Louis James has been writing here. Are you using generative AI? And when it comes to NTM, no, we don't do that. If you're not, I mean, the usage of the robot journalism is like more like automated AI, you might say, Cecilia.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
based
it's
on
no generative for us.
It's like we call it a language tree, and you have choices at each. It's very technical, but basically you can backtrack if there's a mistake. You always know how this text was generated, where it comes from, and the data is the basis for the story in itself. I mean, we are testing using generative AI in our internal processes. So, for example, it's quite good for generating, give me 12 different headlines for this type of story. And then the guy who is, building the robot will pick a few of those and has saved himself quite a lot of time. So, but we've also started using it to see if we can generate entire texts. And it insists on making things up. It suddenly comes up with an average price that was not in the data or whatever. So we're testing, but we're not very hopeful at the moment that it can be just set free the way the stuff that NTM uses is. So let's see.
The product that we get from United Robots, we are really comfortable to publish. We do not have any manual overseeing of the facts. We do that straight from United Robots onto our front pages. So we're very, very comfortable in using that. But we would not be that with using generative AI since it's too early for that. You have a question from Sachinai here. What is the kind of influence AI will now have in the newsroom? All of the good I think AI and the rapid transition or development there will be super useful. I see a lot of examples in Sweden where some of the newspapers are using AI to produce like short intros to the text, comprising the content to shorter versions to give an introduction. But I also know for a fact that they are not doing that automatically. They do need to supervise it because it's ending up wrong a lot of time. And for in our case, I think we will see most use of AI initially on speeding up work internally and using it to try to give a reporter assistance in getting a grip on large content, like big reports or that kind of stuff. And we also will be initiating some experiments on doing what Cecilia told you about there, giving like examples or for headlines and to choose from, or just to get like a creative process going. And also for SEO headlines, I think we'll be trying to do that.
I think there was a follow-up question. Yeah. Okay. Yes. The whole thing about human beings, I would say, I really believe, and I have written quite a lot of blogs about this. I think the publishers who are really going to come out on top in this current world are the ones who do distinctive, unique journalism that is really, especially local, is really relevant for local readers to understand your readers. The AI cannot produce journalism. It doesn't understand the process of journalism. It doesn't understand what's the next right question in this investigation, all of that. And I think publishers who try to automate everything, it'll just become vanilla. It just becomes very average, the content, if you use generative AI too much. That's what I would say. I think local media has a real opportunity now, but you have to really understand your readers and put reporters on the important stuff, There
is one thing in this discussion that is so important to lift up, and that is the word trust. I think it's going to be like a difference between I think it's going to be more important for us to learn and educate the audience that this kind of material, this kind of journalism that we produce, you can trust that as a human being fact checking. I mean, it's going to be like a quality, different quality view upon quality between the handcrafted journalism made by people and by this kind of AI models like ChatGPT. Yeah. So I hope so.
Yes. Okay, we have one question. What can happen when robots surround the newsroom? I'm not sure I understand. Could you elaborate on that? Whoever wrote it, I think it's the same thing. Same question, maybe.
I think it could be responded to like the big purpose for us to use robots is that it frees up time for the reporters to do other stuff and to go deeper and find more stories and to try to be like more like see the big picture when it comes to real estate prices. What is the trends right now? What is the driving forces to this big increase in house sales in this part of the region, but not in this one, and try to tell people on why more than how. Yeah.
I mean, we have stopped calling it robot journalism really, because it's not helpful. I mean, the stuff our robots write, you do not need a reporter to do, obviously. So it's more like community information, but as part of the package of the local news publisher can provide, it can be really valuable for those people in those neighborhoods, for example, with the house sales, or your local high school for sports results and stuff like that. But it's not really journalism. It's part of that, the local community package, I would say.
We have a question from Robin here. Do the AI stories published on your sites include a note that the story was produced by AI, and has there been any public reaction to this? We do have, the byline says NPM's text robot, and we did some journalistic pieces on how this was, I mean, how the journalism is being made in the very beginning, but that's many years ago. So today we just have that kind of clear byline that is made by a robot, and actually there are no questions at all on this. I mean, I think it was quite quiet in the very beginning as well. Perhaps Swedes are fond of robots. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you.
Technology.
I mean, we're working with McClatchy, Advanced Local, Baltimore Banner. We're working quite a lot of American groups now, and they all have a robot byline. And I mean, this is something we push. You should absolutely be transparent internally and externally. It's very important. And in McClatchy's case, they have an email that goes straight to the VP's inbox for readers to react. And she says that she has not had negative comments from readers. It's more that they would, could you start covering more high schools, or so it's not with the readers. I think that maybe, and this is another question here now, around the journalists, it's maybe a bigger challenge to get buy-in in the newsroom. Jens, I don't know, how did you find that in the beginning?
The buy-in on robot journalism?
Yeah, from journalists. I mean, working alongside robots.
There were not that many questions. I mean, most of the newsroom people just were thinking on how to match this with our own journalism on a nice way to get not an overload of robot text.
Yeah,
I mean, if they produce a lot of text, then it could be like taking over the front pages and that kind of discussion we've been having actually, but there are no actual fears or that kind of stuff.
No.
There was a question from Sajinai, how have journalists taken to AI generally? Do some of them see AI as a threat? I would say that most people in our newsrooms are very curious and they want to find out more. They are also very much, they have like a critical stand on when it comes to fact checking and the quality of ChatGPT, for instance. And they have realized, as all of you have, that it's not sufficient today to use like straight on, but they are very curious on how can we do this? How can we use this? Can we try this? Can we try that? So most of all curious actually.
Yeah. All right. I think that's most of the questions we've answered now. I hope you guys found this useful and helpful. And as I said, or Lindsay said in the beginning, we'll be sharing the slides. There are lots more webinars on our YouTube, in our YouTube channel. If you want to watch those on demand, that's fine, or just get in touch. And we'll be happy to talk about any of your questions, of course. And Jens, thank you so much for your continued support for what we do here. Oh, there's another one. Yes, we are going to share. We are going to share, Emily. And yeah, thank you all for joining us today, and hope to see you soon. We will have some people coming to LMA Fest in Chicago. It won't be me, but some of my colleagues. So you could look us up there if you like. I guess that's in the beginning of August. And Jens will probably have a long Swedish summer holiday at that point.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you for
All
being
right.
here, for listening. Nice
All
to be here.
right. Thanks, everybody.